We're just off the heels of BlackBerry's new announcement where they released the Z10 and the Q10, two BlackBerry 10 smartphones, and they rebranded the entire company as BlackBerry. Is it exciting? Can they compete? I'm Aaron from PhoneDog.com. Let's go talk about it. We're hot off the heels of BlackBerry's event in New York City and around the world, in 6 different places to be exact, where they released their BlackBerry 10 devices, the Z10 and the Q10. They also renamed the company BlackBerry, so no more calling it RIM or Research in Motion or saying it's the Research in Motion BlackBerry device. It's all one name. The company employees work for BlackBerry, the company's name is BlackBerry, and the devices are BlackBerry. So let's start with the Q10. That's the device, if you worked with the Bold 9900 or the 9930, it's going to be the easiest transition for you. It's got a physical QWERTY keyboard, a 3.1-inch 720p HD display, and like I said, it looks a lot like BlackBerry's existing design theory. So if you got that physical QWERTY or you need the physical QWERTY keyboard because you send and receive so many emails, you can get BlackBerry 10 on that device and kind of resemble a similar form factor. Then there's the Z10. This is devices intended to compete a little bit more with the iPhone 5, with the Android devices on the market, and it's packing some nice specifications as well, though I'm kind of curious to see how it performs with some of these quad-core devices with giant displays on the market. There's always room for different display types and different sizes and more, but it was a little bit different when the iPhone came out and they gained the market share before the big screen smartphones came out. So it's a little bit different, like anything in this world, doing that in 2007, 2008, 2009, as opposed to launching a device with kind of a smaller screen in 2013. Specs-wise, it's got a 4.2-inch 720p HD display, an 8-megapixel camera, and actually it's a little bit better than 720p HD. 8-megapixel camera, 2-megapixel front-facing camera, 1,800 milliamp hour battery, 4G LTE connectivity. It's coming to the major 4 carriers in the US in March. That presents an interesting theory within itself because we've got HTC's event on February 19th, we've got Mobile World Congress from February 25th through the 28th, we've got a bunch of different announcements that could happen in between that. So who knows? There's a ton of different stuff. In 2 months, the smartphone world is going to go crazy. And as you know, in this industry, 2 months is an eternity in the smartphone world. Now, this is going to come out in the UK tomorrow. So those that live in the UK are going to be able to enjoy it starting tomorrow. Various other markets are going to roll out in February. So you're going to start to see it come out within the next couple of days, next couple of weeks, next couple of months. But for those US subscribers, I find it really interesting that the Z10 is going to come out in March. Again, we're going to be fresh off of Mobile World Congress, fresh off of HTC's announcement, and so we're going to see a bunch of new devices. The buzz may have died down then. I think it's a poor marketing move, at least to get it out in March. Kind of a weird timing thing. But my other question is, it's got a dual-core 1.5 gigahertz Snapdragon S4 Plus CPU. That's great. BlackBerry 10, I think, has a lot of potential. And if you've looked at any of the demos, it's really a nice operating system. There may be a learning curve trying to get used to it, but really a nice evolution from BlackBerry 7 and previous versions of BlackBerry. And I think it can compete with Windows Phone 8, with iOS, and with Android. My question, though, is much like when Windows Phone 7 and 7.5 came out with single-core processors and lower spec displays when it comes to resolution and design. You know, it was one of those things where they were like, you know what, this thing needs a dual-core processor. Well, the phone didn't need a dual-core processor, but because Android had dual-core processors, iOS was starting to evolve in terms of the specs race. People were like, well, why doesn't my Windows Phone have a dual-core processor regardless of whether it needs it or not? It's kind of like you may not use the horsepower in your car, and I keep going back to the car analogies, but people like having 400 and 500 horsepower. So it's one of those things. It's like it's got a dual-core processor, it's got a little bit of a smaller display, but I think people are going to be turned away when they look at the device as opposed to something like the One X Plus or the Droid DNA or the Galaxy S3. Regardless of what you think, you know, devices have kind of migrated up into that 4.5 to 5-inch display size, and that kind of equates to higher end. When you look at a device with a 4.5 to 5-inch display, you immediately think high end. Now, I think these devices are beautiful. I think the Z10 looks really nice. It closely resembles the iPhone 5. The form factor, I haven't held one in my hand, but it looks really nice, at least in terms of pictures. That said, I think it's going to be a hard sell when people look at a 4.2-inch display and say, you know, this seems kind of small in comparison to the One X Plus, the Galaxy S3. It's just going to exude more of a high-end feel. That's my concern. Not to say that that could happen. Who knows, in March it could come out and do incredibly well, but that's my concern. Much like I said with Windows Phone 7 when it came out, people are in tune with specs and hardware, and it's not just geeks, it's mainstream consumers as well. They want the latest, the greatest, and even though I would love to have devices in the 4 to 4.3 inch range, I think it's a hard sell in 2013 when all the high-end devices are up in the 4.5 to 5 inch range, and you know what, they kind of equate that with high-end. and unfortunately, with the exception of the iPhone, manufacturers have had an extraordinarily hard time getting devices in the 4 to 4.3 inch range and really making it look like a high-end device. I want to hear what you think, not only about the devices, but how BlackBerry is going to succeed in the 2013 market. Tweet me at phonedog_Aaron, reply to the comment section below. I'd love to hear your thoughts on whether BlackBerry can succeed in 2013, whether the Z10 and the Q10 are going to be great or going to be terrible. If you just want to say, hey, reach out to me in the comment section below or on Twitter at phonedog_Aaron. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll keep you updated on the BlackBerry news. We'll see you next time.